that?
That should be all. I've said it probably 5 times, but that's.
We all have for 2 years. Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to 4.1 and the regular council meeting minutes for our October the 10th. When somebody's ready, please make a motion that we accept those as presented.
I'd so move, Mayor Barclay.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about them or? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, and then we'll move on to 4.2, the agenda and priorities meeting minutes for October the 16th.
I'll move those minutes
Okay,
for acceptance.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. Any discussion about them? All in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. And then we'll move into 5.1 and CEO Becker with his report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. There's a few items there for council's attention. I'll let you just refer to them. If you have any questions, please feel free. I just wanted to highlight you to the second page, just in regards to the RDR mug. It's generated through Councillor Harrison and supported Councillor Harrison. Met with the executive director of RDR mug to talk about the advocacy work that the mug would like to entertain with the minister, with the government regarding seeking funding for a Red Deer River midstream storage study. So not asking municipalities to participate financially, just through letters of support if the councils deem it appropriate. So RDR mug is requesting partner municipalities to provide a letter of support for feasibility study. And basically the report, there's an attachment to this report, more detailed from RDR mug, but the meeting that I had with the executive director, some of the highlights include the South Saskatchewan watershed, which is part of the Red Deer River basin, had previously conducted water modeling, which has assisted in providing the anticipated future impacts of the Red Deer River. So there's anticipated additional draw on the resource in the eastern part of Alberta, but also the requirement to provide a certain amount of allotment water to Saskatchewan as well. There's some concern with climate change impacts, i.e. drought, and the anticipation of increased events is a major factor to store water. To really study water and the flows required, a storage facility is required to be able to study how that is and what is the requirement of the area. For projects to commence, it takes about 25 years to complete a midstream storage facility. The anticipated location, if a storage facility would be to build, it would be between Red Deer and Drumheller. So it's really there, council, if there's any questions to myself and Councillor Harrison, anything beyond certainly would require the executive director of RDR mug to come in, and he is more than receptive. Just testing you, council, to see if there's enough there to warrant a letter of support, and if you're not quite comfortable, we'd certainly seek additional information. So I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay.
and through to probably both CAO Becker and Councillor Harrison. I'm thinking back to the presentation that we had a few months ago from the Executive Director of the Red Deer River Naturalists. Is there a relationship between MUG and the RDR naturalists? We heard from Red Deer River Naturalists that they were way behind in getting their water quality studies done, and they were really struggling to sort of get caught up and get funded and whatever to get that work done. So, whoever's doing it, it absolutely needs to get done, and this probably isn't the same kind of work. This is a different project altogether, but I just wonder if the two organizations are connected at all, and if they work together, and I wouldn't mind hearing from MUG, actually, myself, but I'm curious about the relationship.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. And the naturalists, we're beginning to work a lot closer with the Red Deer Watershed Alliance. Is that what you're referring to? Rather than the naturalists. But so we've started to foster that relationship, and I think we're all aware that the Alliance is the actual sort of advocacy lobbyist with the government. It's not RD MUG. So we are. We've had a couple of meetings with them. They've come to RD MUG. They've done their presentations. So I think the short answer is yes. We've started to foster that relationship, and I think as we go forth, we're all interested in the same thing: in water quality and quantity of water in the Red Deer River. So hopefully that answers. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think I reported last week that the Mountain View Regional Water Commission had supported this initiative and was sending a letter of support. Yeah, and the other thing that I'm aware that this makes possible is in the special areas, area east and north of Hannah, irrigation potential. Also found it interesting, just a couple of days ago read something that there's another dam being looked at on the Bow, somewhere east of Bazzano, for further, and it's probably a little ahead of this one in the sense of it's already sort of being talked about in the media. So yeah, the commission certainly supports it, and yeah, just a reminder too, though, I think RDR MUG has a lot of potential advocacy because they do represent over 30 municipalities, where the last time I looked, there was maybe a handful of municipalities that were also belonging to the Watershed Alliance, and if they're working together, they'll get all the advocacy they need.
Okay, well, there's a couple of recommended motions here. Does somebody want to make a motion that we provide a letter of support as per the motion?
I was going to let Councillor Harrison do it. It's kind of.
Okay, I'll let Councillor Harrison do it.
Thank you. I move that council provide a letter of support to the Red Deer Regional Municipal Users Group to advocate to the provincial government to fund a Red Deer River midstream storage feasibility study.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. Any further questions or discussions? No, all in favor? All right, carried, unanimous. And then the second motion is just to receive a CEO report as information, please. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'll move that council approves the CAO officer report dated October 23rd, 2023 as information.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to council action control. And if there's no questions about this, would please have someone make a motion that we accept this as information. Councillor Bates.
Yes, I'll move that we accept it as information, and then I have a suggestion.
All right, carry on.
As I look at it, I think down the road, I don't think we should do it today. I think we should all look at the ones that the dates keep changing and be prepared to just go through them and see if we should move them out there a little further or pick the date that we all think is, because, yeah, I'm not concerned, I just see they get moved down the road, and I think we should, maybe there's some that we should eliminate, I don't know. I think we should just take a
C.O.
down the
Becker.
road.
Yeah, to Councillor Bates's point and question, I think it'd be good to even go specifically what is the delay. So often we set a target and other things usually typically impact. But I could provide you a highlight on some of those items that have the longer list. If you could just maybe back up, Juanita, to the top. Yeah, just to give you an idea, so AHS representative, so this week likely you'll get a questions. If you recall, we had questions prior submitted to the representative, so that's going to come to you, council. Here's a list that we had, anything you wish to add, so it is in action. So you'll see some resolve to that over the course of this week, and then booking that time with the representative. Vehicle noise, it's on my desk to provide feedback to the manager with some potential bylaw piece. So it's really on my desk, likely to come in. I think November is a safe place for it to land. Council remuneration, and we do have actually a representative here, that they've concluded their work, the committee. Now administration is compiling the recommendation from the committee. It'll come to you in November. And broadband capacity, it's been several months from a response from TELUS. We just secured a date, actually as of Friday, to meet administratively with them. So please don't be afraid to ask. We don't intentionally delay. I know that's not your point, Councillor, but certainly they are in action, but some have been moved further on, longer than we anticipated. If there's any other questions, be happy to assist.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Okay, we have a motion to accept this as information. All in favor? All right, carried unanimous. Thank you. And we will move on to 6.1 with Director Vickers and the third quarter financials.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So yes, each year administration presents quarterly financials for council to review and approve. So the financials currently being presented are for the third quarter of 2023, which is January 1st to September 30th. So administration has reviewed the financial information being presented. The actual figures have been compared to the approved final budget for the year, and the 2023 final budget was approved on December 12th, 2022. Administration does believe this to be a true representation of the state of the financials as of September 30th. So the financials show an overall revenue of 87% of budget compared to a 75% measurable for the third quarter. And upon reviewing 2022 third quarter, this is 2% more than we saw at that time. So business licenses are now sitting at 99%, which is great for the year. We do collect most of this at the beginning of the year, and then throughout the rest of the year, they trickle in. By October 31st, we will be sending out our 2024 business license applications. Animal licenses is sitting at 73%, so while we do try to collect most of this at the beginning of the year, and then the 2024 animal licenses will be available to purchase in the office here by December 1st. Our other revenue is at $579. Again, the majority of this is from the bus auction, and that will go into reserves at the end of the year. Our return on investment by the end of the third quarter was sitting at 114%, so we're sitting in a pretty good position in that spot. Sale of lands is at 77%, so this does include the sale of 3 fully built houses as well as 2 additional lot sales. And as of September 30th, there was 1 more fully built home and 1 more lot that have been sold but have yet to close yet, and those should be closed by the end of the year as well. Tax revenue is sitting at 100%. We do collect that during the second quarter, with taxes being due on June 30th. And our current outstanding balance as of September 30th was just over $310,000, which equates to about 2.63% of total tax revenue. So we're sitting in a really good position when it comes to our outstanding taxes.
Director Vickers, can I just ask a quick question about that? So
Absolutely,
that outstanding balance, is that just the monthly payments that we're still expecting for the rest of the year, or?
Mayor Barclay, when we talk about outstanding balance, we're not talking about the
Okay.
people who are on the monthly payment plan. We assume that they will make their payments,
Okay,
and then
talking
by
about
December be at 0.
Non-pays.
Yes, these are just
Unpaid,
the
okay.
non-paid people,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so the financials show an overall expense of 60% of budget compared to 75th measurable for the third quarter. So, and upon reviewing 2022 third quarter, this is 6% less than what we saw at that time. So we really have cut down our spending so far to date. Salaries are at 69%. This is right in line with the third quarter 75th benchmark that we like to see. Computer programming is at 94%. Most of the computer programs that we do purchase, we have to purchase at the beginning of the year. Insurance is at 109%, and we do pay for this at the beginning of the year, as well as we do add additional items as we purchase them throughout the year, which does sometimes help with the creep up. Our federal police services is at 56%. Just the way that the RCMP's year-end is, their year-end, I believe, starts in April. So we see their third invoice near the end of December, and then we see their fourth invoice that we accrue back into this year in first quarter of next year. Our contracted services is sitting at 53%. We are quite under budget for this line. Our largest portion is our garbage contract, and that is sitting at 66% just itself. Grants to others is at 83%. Most of those is the requisition to the library and FCSS, as well as tax supplies. Supplies for tax notices at 71%. And again, there would be no more expenses under that account now. All revenues and expenses are within the budgeted approvals for the quarter. The current capital spreadsheet is attached with updated project costing as well as an updated reserve sheet. And again, no changes happen to reserves throughout the year. It's just to include any updated budget adjustments that have been made since budget passing. So I'll take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Does anyone have any questions? No? Well, please have someone make a motion then that we approve the third quarter financials as presented. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I move the council approves the third quarter financials as presented.
All right, all in favor? Okay. Okay, and we will move on to correspondence and information, please. Juanita, maybe you could send an invite, calendar invite out to us for the Chamber Business Awards, and we can get tickets for whoever wants to attend. And can you just back up to the list again, please? Sorry. Okay, perfect. I'll just have somebody make a motion then to accept the correspondence as information. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'll move that we accept the correspondence and as information.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you. And we will move into council reports. We'll begin with Councillor Wing today.
Yeah, I'll just look at my calendar from last week because it was kind of a crazy week. So last Tuesday was both MPC followed by the Municipal Development Plan Advisory Committee meeting. MPC was probably the most significant agenda, I guess, we've had in a while, so it was good, lots of good conversation. And then the Municipal Development Plan Advisory Committee, I think we're starting to, we had good attendance, and we had starting to get some traction with that group as well, so I'm looking forward to what comes next with them. We meet monthly. I very much enjoyed the lunch the following day, the Reimer Hirsch luncheon at the golf course. I was really happy with the attendance, and I think, of course, having the students there was great, but I think there was a good mix of community members there as well, so I appreciated that, and I didn't hear anyone complain about it, so that's always a good sign too. Everyone really enjoyed it. Last Thursday, I attended the Parkland Library Executive Committee meeting. I'm a member of the Executive Committee there, and then the Chamber of Commerce had their monthly meeting that on Thursday evening. And of course enjoyed two grand openings of two brand new little free libraries on Friday, one in West Park and one in Raspberry Park, and they're fabulous and exciting future, I think, for that organization. Great partnership between the library folks, the Men's Shed, and the Art Club, so keep your eyes open for those libraries. They're amazing. And then Saturday was a full day with the library board, so we've finalized the draft of our plan of service. We'll be bringing it to council to have a conversation with you in a couple of weeks. We approved the budget for this coming year and spent a bunch of time going through and finalizing a brand-new procedural policy manual. So it was a full day of work with the library on Saturday. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I also attended the mini libraries, the grand openings there on Friday. Also, the Hirschheimer luncheon, which was very good. It was a great 2-hour presentation. I really got a lot out of it. So that was pretty much my week. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I also was able to attend the Hirsch-Reimer luncheon. I made it halfway through Todd Hirsch's presentation, but I was really happy to be there, and it was great to see the students and how well it was attended. That was it for me really for councillor duties, but I did have an opportunity last week to be part of a panel for a CAPE luncheon around Business Support Network workshop series, and it was around employment and modernizing employee readiness, being effective as a recruiter, and mindful of ongoing coaching. So it was an interesting day at RDP, and was very honored to be able to be a part of that.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for representing us at CAPE. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Last week was MPC, and I agree with Councillor Wing. There was some exciting development discussions there to town. And then I attended the Hirsch and Reamer conversation on Wednesday. And what a number of great things the town is doing. And I was so proud to have them there and to see the attendance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Bates.
First of all, I noticed the welcome signs back up on the C&E trail. And thank you for that. It took a long time, but it's there. And I wanted you to notice I noticed. Also attended MPC, and yes, there was some good things approved there. Oh, is that a secret, or? Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a secret.
Okay,
so
so.
For somebody to tell us, because it's in my notes, because I sat in on the meeting.
Yeah, I think 2 notable approvals were for row housing developments. One for 8 units, and then the other for the first phase of the North Shore, as we've commonly come to know it on Dodds Lake. There was one facade approval, which, yeah, that's, oh, it's notable, but it's not as big as the other. And then we had one that was deferred because it was kind of dropped in. Also attended MDP, and yeah, I think we've set our next meeting for sometime in early December to try and catch the surveys that are out. It's like pulling teeth, but we're getting there. On the surveys, that's always a challenge. The Hirschheimer was very good, and it was kind of neat too to sit around afterwards and just have a little bit of casual conversation with those folks. We did complete the Mountain View budget last week, and the reason we did that is if we'd done it this week, we probably would have had at least 1 new member, and that would have been rather awkward to try and complete the budget with somebody who hadn't seen any of it. And we'll get it through official channels, but it's a 4% water increase in the rate. And I attended the Raspberry Park and West Park Library openings. The main contractor is my neighbor across the street. He's been busy. And this week I have the Alberta Climate Summit with the Pembina Institute as I'm thinking part of my professional development.
All right, thank you. And the facade that was part of MPC is, I believe it's the Buyers Stationery Building that they're matching up the exterior of that building with what they're doing at Henday Mall. So if anybody has noticed the new exterior, so that'll be really nice. Anyway, so I as well, of course, attended Hirsch Reamer. It was such a fantastic day, and I think having the students there, I keep saying it was really the icing on the cake, although I'm not sure Mike Devine thought that at about 4 o'clock the day before, but I think when Juanita called him and it went from, well, let's just say participation more than doubled. So there's a lot of cooking going on that evening. And I think beyond the day of the event, just, sharing the event on social media such as LinkedIn, it just continues to build our reputation around Alberta. And I know, I think just considering that the people were in that room that day, it really bodes well for Innisfail. And I've received nothing but positive feedback. Had a Cape Board meeting out in Three Hills County, which is in Three Hills on, I don't know, Thursday morning maybe. There wasn't enough people for quorum, unfortunately, so it was a lovely drive. We sat around, chatted for a couple hours, but I won't be charging for it. It was unfortunate that people couldn't show up. They're also doing the annual fall meeting for Cape is November 16th in Red Deer. One of the presentations that day will be Varma Energy. They've been invited to present to the Cape Fall meeting. Now for my very long wastewater report. So on Friday, the Mountain View, or the South Red Deer Regional Wastewater Commission met at Mountain View County. The discussion continues around an emergency storage pond. This is really important for us. Just to give you some history, the emergency storage ponds were part of the original design, but the wastewater project back in the day came in at 45% over budget, and so the emergency storage ponds were cut. According to the original planning documents, the line should currently be at around 32% capacity, the usage of it, but we're under 5% still. So that whole system was certainly built out to be the grand scheme that hasn't really kind of come to fruition the way they thought it would. Olds has had the most issues with overland flooding. Currently, the supply of services agreement, there is no assignment of risk for excess rain events. Since the Bowden Pond was installed, there have been no issues in Innisfail. And since the line was built, there have been no incidents here, although I believe we were close in maybe 1920. And as I read through this, Director Kennedy, please don't be afraid to interrupt me if there's something you hear that's not quite right. But the Commission is really considering the risk versus the cost of these new storage ponds. Estimates for Olds are between $5 and $10 million. Well, actually, Olds and Innisfail. There's two options in Olds. One is a 7.5 kilometer line, and the other one is proximal to the lift station. And then our pond here, I believe we were around 650,000 when we were talking about this last term. They sent out a RFP, and it came in at 1.3 million. So the cost basically doubled. So, as I said, there's consideration of not doing the pond in Innisfail, rather one further north down the line that would benefit other communities, including ours, Penhold, Springbrook, Red Deer County, and us. The Bowden storage pond has reduced the volume to Innisfail by half during storm events. If we were to achieve 99% risk mitigation on the whole system, the cost to do that would be $30 million. The cost to the Commission has been less than $30,000 for overland flooding, and the town of Olds has really borne the costs of the flooding since they're having such an issue with their inflow and infiltration in the community. The last big event they had was last year, and I believe that cost the town of Olds around $100,000 to clean that up. So the philosophy around the Commission, or the talk around the table, has been if there's a heavy rain event and communities have such an issue with inflow and infiltration, is that the problem of the Commission, or is that the problem of the municipality? So I think, Director Kennedy, we've seen numbers improve drastically in Innisfail with all the work that your ops team has done in fixing some of the infiltration problems that we've had in the past. This Commission is going to be seeking legal advice with respect to changes to the agreement so that the assignment of the risk is clear. In the agreement, specifically looking at consideration of a maximum allowable peaking factor such as 2.7 to 3 daily average flow during extreme rain events. Olds has been above 10, Bowden Springbrook around 4 to 5, and Innisfail, Penhold, and Gasoline Alley are normally 2 to 4. So it's really a discussion around the cost as compared to the risk. And of course, they're using data that's available since the inception of this line. This decision will be driven by the Operational Technical Committee, probably more so than the commission members itself, because we're obviously not the experts, and we're relying on the Operational Technical Committee to provide that advice to us. Another key component of Friday's meeting was discussion around waste heat. So SRD is participating in a feasibility study of a waste-to-heat unit as part of the future Public Works Building and Emergency Services Building in Penhold. And Penhold has engaged RDP and Echo Ammo, a consulting firm, to evaluate. According to the information that was shared Friday, the wastewater temperatures entering the lift stations are around 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. Penhold, as an example, could generate 1.75 megawatts to 3.5 megawatts, depending on design. So the equivalent of providing electricity and heat to 300 to 600 homes. The proposed rate for wastewater going into 24 will be $2.66, is what we spoke about on Friday. That's up 7 cents from 2023. I think it's around a 3.5% increase. 65% of the operating costs for the commission are the wastewater treatment that the City of Red Deer does. Budget allocates also $750,000 to reserves each year, which is not nearly enough, to be honest with you. Lastly, SRD has met with the City of Red Deer. In the original agreement, Section 10 called for a joint planning commission with representation from the Commission and the City of Red Deer. That has never been done since inception. The committee should be comprised of 3 members from the Commission and 3 from the City, although the composition of the committee is not clear. Is it elected officials, administrative, or a combination? Ideally, the commission would be represented by the chair, the vice chair, and the CAO, and are requesting at least 1 member from Red Deer be an elected official. So those discussions are ongoing, and hope we'll see some clarity on that in the near future. Friday, I also attended the 2 little free library installations, and Saturday I attended the Energy Innovation Fair at Red Deer Polytechnic. Our CEO was on a panel with 3 other speakers. President Stuart Cullen from RDP delivered some opening remarks, and his words included economic and social priorities, upskilling, reskilling, and partnerships and collaboration. And when I hear those, and you kind of look at RDP's strategy, I think it just fits so well with what we're doing here in Innisfail. The words match almost perfectly. Also on the same panel was Grand Chief Desmond Bull. He spoke about partnerships and collaboration, as did our CEO and Leanne representing Fortis, who used the term innovate with purpose, with a key focus on distributed generation, microgeneration, and engaging with customers to understand when and how energy is used. So I stayed about half a day, and it was excellent, and thank you to CEO Becker for spending time on that panel and representing Innisfail so well, as always. And yeah, I think that's it for me. So we will move on to open. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a question. Uh-oh, sorry. Prattling on for a long time.
Yeah, just, that was a long coverage. No, it's all great. It's needed. I guess the question I have, because I didn't know, so the sewage capacity is way above what we're using. Like you said, we're using 5%.
We're using less than 5%, I understand, and the building, I think what I've learned is the system was built out for about a 70-year time span, and I think at the time, Stantec did all their calculations and were considering growth in every community along the way, and it hasn't happened, and, you know, I don't know,
No, it's a surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't remember those. And then I guess what hits me is I hope they're not letting that capacity excess give them comfort relative to the potential for a spill, because the spill could result from a failure. And a failure would cause, which we've put sewage down Buffalo Creek before, I think, and we wouldn't want to do it again. Happened to hear this morning Cochrane managed to give some to Calgary. I guess the thing that I can remember back meeting with ministers at AM, at that time was on behalf of our own town, and we were questioning, the province mandated that system, and the province funded most of it, a good portion of it, let's say, or percentage. And I hope the commission has looked at whether or not, because if we do have an issue and spill, it'll be the Department of the Environment, Province of Alberta, that'll be all over us. I hope the commission has exhausted all efforts to lay that potential problem at the province's feet and their potential to pay for it.
Yeah, I believe Councillor Bates that discussion is beginning. Of course, Minister Dreeshen is the minister that oversees this, and I know that the chair and CEO and vice chair will definitely be discussing this whole idea with them, because all we know what we went through last term with talking about the pond and getting all that kind of figured out, and now we may not be doing it, so.
Well, and I guess, again, I can't remember I don't profess to be an expert on the sewage commission or its functioning, but the question needs to be asked: what if our lift station fails? If our lift station fails, then it's already past Bowden.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think we got a problem.
Yeah, for sure, and
Thank you.
that's why I think we're relying on, the technical and operations people, because we talked about that Friday, like none of us certainly have any expertise to determine all this, and you want to say something?
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, kind of to what Councillor Bates is stating. So I just remember the work previous council and administration undertook to achieve a project moving forward. So right now that's still on the books. However, the commission may not find a need to advance that project. And Councillor Bates' point is, well, maybe we still may need a project, like from a town perspective. I don't want to lose sight of an action. Bridging your comments, Mayor Barclay, with back to the operations of the town, I just want to make sure we're connecting, not just through the technical committee of the commission, but through our technical internal department. So I'll be following up with the director, but I want to make sure we kind of look back in the mirror. What did council give us direction to achieve? Because that still is a directive. And then if the commission is desiring not to proceed, then are we lining ourselves up? Do we agree with that? Or do we still need a facility for our own protection? So I think onto the director, we need to probably dig deeper into this.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that it's definitely off the books for 2024, as far as the commission's concerned, at doing that pond, and maybe 2025. So yes, sorry, I guess when I say the Technical and Operations Committee, I'm kind of looking at Director Kennedy, although I realize you're not necessarily on that. But yeah, we need to discuss this, and when I think as a council, we need to, you know how tricky commissions are, right? You're there representing the commission, and yet you're here representing the town, so yeah.
Yes, two different hats, and I just wanted to clarify the meeting I referred to went back to the previous CAO. We're talking 10 years ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to number 9, open mic session. Does Mr. King or Mr. Hoppins, did you want to have anything to?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Just a kudos to your Public Works Department. I've seen them out with their sanding trucks this afternoon. Kudos to the town people.
Well, thank you. Mr. Hoppins? You can do either, whatever's most comfortable. Okay.
Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, our council and our administration were in conflict, and there was sandpaper being rubbed between all those factions. And now, some 6 years or more later, I see a different kind of community altogether. And more specifically, since the last election, you're halfway through your term. So as the community watcher and pay attentioner, I'll give you a solid A. I don't want to say A plus, because then you might think you're doing perfect. And I don't want to say A minus, and then you might think, oh, what are we doing wrong? I'd just like to thank you for your leadership and commitment and the tone you set by working together, whether it's mayor, councillors, administration. It's very comforting as a citizen to feel like these folks are looking after. So thank you very much. And when I say that, it could be a big thing like the energy file or the housing file, or it could be the little things like my favorite second place in Innisfil is at Aquafit in the morning with a bunch of us old people jumping around. Like we're looked after, and it's very much appreciated. The question I have is around the housing. You've hired some folks to give you some information. You got the information. There's a report. So I look at that report and I look at the recommendations, and I can see that you've gone from about a 100,000 foot level down to a 50 foot, and I look at the recommendations. It says develop a housing plan with measures and so on. So my question is, what's your timeline where, because what I see the second half of your mandate to be is that you can look back and say, here's very specific things that we've done. You've put big pieces in place, kind of like big clogs, and now they wheel on little clogs. And that this isn't a criticism, it's just, and a personal bias. We're old, we want to stay in our house, but maybe we don't, but we don't want to leave Innisfil. We really don't. We did that once because we had to, and we don't want to do that again. So my question is, what's your timeline on building the action plan or the implementation of the big ideas?
Well, it's funny you're here today, but I will maybe let Director Jenkins answer that, put her on the spot, because that's her wheelhouse.
Yeah, so we do have essentially a draft compilation of actions for council to consider. They'll actually be looking at it later today in their in-camera portion of their meeting. And then kind of based on some of the feedback we get there, we'll be creating a document that will be sort of publicly consumable. So.
That's comforting to know. So good luck in the second half of your mandate, and again, thank you for
Okay, thank you for those kind words, Bill. And I think just to add to that, I mean, the town did build 4 houses this year, and they're sold. There's some infills going on, Director Jenkins. I can't remember how many. Is it 3? 3. Okay. And as mentioned at MPC last week, there was a 8-unit stacked row house that has been conditionally approved for over by the community garden in Innisfil. And then the first iteration of a subdivision plan for the Evertrust property on the north side of Dodds Lake, and that's 101 row houses. I think first phase is 50. So getting there, slowly but surely. Yeah, no, everybody's certainly working very hard at that. And we'll go to upcoming events.
Just, if I can just, Juanita, you're going to pull your hair out over this one. The chamber has gone back to afternoon meetings. So November the 16th at 5 p.m., not 12 p.m. Thanks.
Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. And I'll just get confirmation from Councillor Wing, but over to Juanita. Do we put the AGM, the chamber AGM on here? Is it supposed to be there, or?
November 1st.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Just checking as a new committee member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be open to anybody. So.
Is it at, I think it's at 4 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And if there's nothing else, just get somebody to please make a motion that we accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Wing.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. I'll make that motion that we accept upcoming events for information.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we will have a motion to go in camera, please. Okay, thank you. And then, do you want does everybody want to stay for the next meeting? Okay, perfect, okay. Do you want to take like a 3-minute break?
A 3-minute break. No entrance. Sure glad I put my snow tires on last week.
I don't do snow tires.
Snowing well now.
It's so all season, all weather. Okay, so I'll call this organizational meeting of council to order at 4:41 PM. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Okay, could I please have could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. So there's a little bit of change to our deputy mayor rotation. Councillor Dunham is heading overseas for the month of December, basically. So we decided I suggested maybe he flip with another person. So he contacted Councillor Messaros to see if they could switch rotations. And I guess we'll be swearing in Councillor Messaros instead. So, yeah, no, it's okay. Enjoy. We'll just ask Councillor Messaros to come up and we'll do the deed. Place your right hand on here. Okay, so I, Cindy Messaros,
I, Cindy Messaros,
do swear that I will diligently
do swear that I will diligently,
faithfully, and to the best of my ability,
faithfully, and to the best of my ability,
execute according to law
execute according to law
the office of Deputy Mayor
the office of Deputy Mayor
for the town of Innisfail, so help me God.
for the town of Innisfail, so help me God.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to officially present you with your badge, ma'am.
Deputy Dog Badge, there we go, okay. All right.
also known as the nightmare.
So we will now move into 4.1, the committee terms of reference amendments.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Just a couple items, just posing questions to council. There was a light discussion a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, just regarding make adjustments to your terms of reference for the Community Economic Development Advisory Group, but also the terms of reference for the Policing and Safe Community Committee. How the report reads, there's just indication from council, there might be interest to add a third council member just based on the significance of that committee. And really, the philosophy is yours. Obviously, you don't want quorum of 4 councillors on a committee, but you can range it from 1 to 3 based on significance and how many years you want on a committee. So just asking the question to you, council, if you wish to add an additional council member to the CED Advisory Group Committee. The other one is the Policing and Safe Communities Committee, where there was some interest in the community for potentially serving on the committee from being outside of the community. Currently, the terms of reference indicates you need to be a town resident and or on a business within the community. And just putting it to you, council, if you wish to broaden it a little bit for somebody that has a vested interest in the community that perhaps is employed within the community or resident or a business. So I'll leave it to there if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. So the Policing and Safe Committee, I think that would be then similar to what the CED committee is, right? Because that,
Correct.
I think the verbiage is the same in
It is,
in
yes.
that. Kind of allows a little more expansive reach. Councillor Bates?
Just help me with the economic development one, because as I look later when we're looking at the citizen representatives, so is there 2 level of, so we've got councillors, and then do we have permanent advisors, and then citizen, what do we have in there? Like, I guess Bob Bilton, what's he?
He's a member at large.
A member at large. So we have members at,
There's members at large and then the chamber president
Yeah.
is kind of a standing position that remains on that.
okay, but when I look at, it's coming later, there was Bill Hoppins, who's current member, and then, yeah, but, so Bill Hoppins is the same as Bob Bilton, is the same, okay. So, I'll wait till we get there, it just, what, I thought Bill was on to stay on for,
Yeah, I think like Bob and Pat would have been reelected last year for 2-year terms, and Bill's just has come up now.
okay,
He filled in for somebody that stepped off.
Yeah, he picked up somebody's term halfway through.
okay, no. It was confusing me, I thought maybe there was 2 different levels of members at large.
So really the question is, council, do you see value having a third member of council sitting on that committee?
Councillor Wing?
Thank you. Just one other terms of reference then that I will butt in here for a second. The library, Innisfail Public Library, terms of reference says only citizens, but we serve a region and we are funded by the county. So I wonder if it's reasonable to say town and region in our terms of reference. I don't know what your thought is, but.
The library board does have rural members, though. They have there's county members and town members.
The terms of reference say town only. So it's just something that we should check.
I would have to double check the bylaw.
We did when I was on.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll ask for somebody to make the first motion, please. Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I recommend that council approves the drafting on amendment to bylaw 1673-2021, the Innisfail Community Economic Development Advisory Group terms of reference, allowing for 3 members of council to sit on the advisory group.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Oops. Okay, carried, unanimous, and then please have someone make the second motion. Councillor Messaros?
I'll move that council approves drafting an amendment to bylaw 1628-2019, establishing the Policing and Safe Community Committee to reflect that voting members shall be residents of the town or own, operate, or be employed by a business or organization located in the town.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, questions about that? All in favor? All right, carried. So we will move into 4.2 with the council member appointments to the boards and committees.
So this report, Mayor and Council, is just the result of your previous conversations over the last couple of meetings. This is the time to, speak to your committees. If you, how it was suggested to you on your appointments, or if changes, but it's really in your realm, how you wish to proceed based on the recommended motion. And with that, there was also a motion to provide overview of your past committee work to the up and coming here, council appointments to the committee. So again, looking for council direction on moving forward with securing your appointments to the committees. And in conclusion, once you do that, we do inform external committees of the appointees, as well as those members at large. Then we'll move into more of the orientation process to get everybody speed from an administrative perspective. I think the second motion relates more to council.
Okay, thank you. So please have somebody to make the recommended motion. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you. That I move that council approves the list of 2023-2024 council member appointments to boards, committees, and commissions as presented.
Okay, thank you. You want us to wait? You're okay. You're in favor, okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, and then about the discussion about council committees. Councillor Messaros, you brought that up last time. Like, do you want to go through the list right now, or do you?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I was thinking maybe if I could refine what I suggested. I don't think probably all of these need like an orientation or like handoff kind of thing, but I know, for instance, I'm going to be on the chamber committee this time around, and it's quite different than any of the committees that I've served on to date. And I've heard Councillor Wing talk about, as a councillor serving on this committee, that you're also expected to serve on a number of subcommittees as a director. So I'm just kind of curious about your experience, Councillor Wing, your the time that you dedicated to the committee, and the kinds of decisions and work you were involved in. So maybe it was inappropriate of me to ask for, an kind of an onboarding from everybody package, and maybe this is even something that we can discuss just the two of us. Or maybe it's something that the rest of the council is interested in kind of understanding.
So it's not a committee. You are appointed as a director of the Chamber Board of Directors. So it's not a committee appointment. You're actually appointed as a director. There will be an onboarding that the Chamber does that they do with their new board members. They're hoping to elect a fairly large group of directors at the AGM on November the 1st. But, it's certainly not a secret that over the last 2 years, the Chamber has gone through a difficult time, but there's been a lot of really good work that's done, and I would say the organization doesn't even remotely resemble itself than what it did 2 years ago. So I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one about it, and then just know that onboarding will happen at the board, and they do have committees. They don't have any, I don't think they have any standing committees right now, but they appoint ad hoc committees as they need to. But yeah, the expectation is that you are there as a full director with voting privileges, and so you will participate at the same level that the other directors do.
Well, I did all this work and I wrote 2 pages. So if anybody wants anything about the regional waste management, even though I'm still on it, or the Mountain View Regional Water Services, even though I'm still on it, or MPC, which, you know, I don't think a lot of this stuff should go without a review once in a while of what is. I could give you my MPC, which is,
Why don't you do that?
why don't I do that?
And I'm interested in actually the water too.
Okay, well, I'll give you those 2 at least. So, other than everybody knows, I think, that we meet the first and third Tuesday, but probably less than 50% of those meetings have been necessary. We have had solid citizen representation, both from an attendance and knowledge standpoint. The one thing that I itemized was, we must remember that our bylaws and our zoning often default to MPC, and so then we take comfort in the fact that MPC will actually make sure that the right thing's done, even if we have something that's a little hard to work with. And then it seems like when we come to MPC, there's also the default that the citizen can file an appeal if we don't do if we don't do what they want. Because and that's a choice this municipality has made, that we don't go out and put up A-boards and post that something could be coming to a neighborhood near you. But on MPC, you have to remember that and make sure that you're acting in the best interests of, as you feel fit, right, of your citizens and or businesses and or whatever. And not to download to the appeal process if at all possible. And yeah, those were the comments that I came up with that I think it's important when somebody goes on there, think about, because it's real easy. Oh, I had another one in here too. I'm not just reading it. We do rely to a great extent on the knowledge of the planning staff, and unless you see, real good reasons not to, I think you have to respect that knowledge and that professionalism that is there. And because it's easy to be just swayed by your heart, and quite often it isn't necessarily the popular decision, it's the right decision that you have to make. So those were the things that I wrote about MPC. Okay, the Regional Water Services, of course, it's a commission, so you're a commissioner, not a you put on your commission hat and take off your councillor hat. Monthly meetings usually, August is usually an exception, they take that off. Second Wednesday of the month, 9 a.m., either at the Henday plant, or if it's a larger meeting, they usually use the Legion boardroom here in Innisfail. They do ask to try and maintain some continuity. Of course, it's just a desire on their part, and have base knowledge. It's been interesting because this is my first time on it the last 2 years, and I would recommend at least a couple of meetings a year that the backup go, and definitely get oriented through a plant tour, and then probably go to the AGM and probably the budget meeting. Down the road, as I get replaced, which will ultimately happen, there probably should be a little more overlap planned and hopefully with somebody that's, you know, planning to still be a councillor into the future. Those would be paid by the town, because the commission pays the commissioner's attendance, but the town would pay the additional meeting. It's been interesting. The backup for Carstairs, which is his name is Jerry, but he's been at every meeting. And I asked him the other day, I said, is there a reason for this? Like, Mayor Colby is, you know, is he going to disappear or what? And Jerry told me, and I do not advocate for this, but in Carstairs, all of the backups can go to all of the meetings and be paid by their town. It seems weird as heck to me, but they just come together, and Jerry doesn't vote, he doesn't say a word. He just sits there and absorbs, and he could seamlessly be a backup because of that. But anyway, I just use that example. That's kind of a departure. But I've already given you the kind of the rundown. I think the backup should have a little more active role than what we have had, and that's assuming that I still attend every meeting. And then when it happens, the backup would be more prepared and probably would have a potential natural progression down the road. May as well, I'm on a roll. The Central Alberta Regional Waste. No, but I think it's important that you know, it doesn't hurt to hear it again. 2 meetings a year, you don't need a lot of knowledge other than the mini role of a commission person, because all you're doing, along with members of Delburn, Red Deer County, Innisfail, Penhold, and Bowden, you're managing the monitoring of a closed landfill. And 2 meetings a year for budget and audit and reviewing the monitoring results every 6 months. And it's always at Red Deer County, and the administration is handled by Red Deer County. They do the work, and usually there's the Zoom option. That covers everything except MDP, which we're still finding our way a little bit.
Is there anything else? Councillor Messaros, like, do you want to? No? Does anybody else want to know any?
Report. It's not long. It's not
Okay.
as long as Gavin's.
Okay.
Well, okay. I only want to, I only want to talk, I only want to put 2 on the table, and it's, part of it's important because of some of the things that happened on the weekend when we were working together. So, Innisfail Public Library. The library, of course, is supported by the town of Innisfail through the provision of their physical space and the maintenance of that space that goes along with that. The collection within the library is owned, for the most part, by the Parkland Regional Library System, as is all of the computers and technology, all subscriptions, and all licenses. So it's important. I'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the Parkland part, but it's important when we get our requisition from Parkland on an annual basis for the budget that we understand that a lot of the expenses that go into that budget, we really have very little control over, because licensing for computers and the cost of technology is through the roof. And it would not be something that the library here could bear by its own, on its own. This year, we need to do some work, just sort of realigning the relationship between the town from a legislative perspective. We've had a couple of managers in the last 2 years, so we have a new manager since this spring. She's great. We have a really good board, but there were a couple of cracks that appeared through this appointment process that we need to just work on as we move forward. We actually need more people appointed today than what we thought, so we'll talk about that when we go into that section. Just as a note, the provincial legislation actually does not permit a council alternate to be appointed, although it does allow for council to appoint 2 members to the board, and I don't think that's necessary. the board certainly would not, if I wasn't able to be at a board meeting, they certainly wouldn't close the door on somebody from, on an alternate to just come as the liaison and listen, but again, it would be a non-voting type of position, and I don't think that's an issue for us. Currently, the current process that relative to library board appointments is the library board actually doesn't have the ability to look at the appointment or the applicants before council appoints them. So the board is appointed by the town. The board is not accountable to the town, but the board doesn't have any actual input into I don't even think they provide the skills and competencies that they're looking for. So I think this year, as we move forward, there's just a little bit of work that we can do together around that, and I'd like to see that happen. Yeah, so we thought we only needed 4 appointments. We actually need 6 appointments today, so we can talk. I know, thank God it's not 7. And then just the Parkland Regional Library System. I've really enjoyed working on this board as well. It's very organized, very effective. It meets quarterly. It exists as per a membership agreement that was created by the member municipalities back in 2000, which is great unless you want to change something, and then it's not a very friendly process. They require a supermajority for any changes to happen to the membership agreement. Even something as significant as the membership agreement indicates that funding will be sent, the funding numbers will be based on population that comes from municipal affairs, except municipal affairs doesn't do that work anymore. The numbers come from the Treasury Board, so we can't actually just, amend that section. We have to open that section, and there's very big concern that by opening the agreement, then a whole bunch of other surprises might happen. So there's some interesting work happening with Parkland, but I feel quite satisfied that certainly the work that we engage with them to do is done very, very well, very professionally. So I've enjoyed those 2 committees.
Thank you. So shall we now go in camera and do the appointments? I'll have a motion to go in camera, please. Councillor Bates.
I want to move once that we go in camera.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?